Matthew Stafford hasn't consistently been a top 10 quarterback throughout his career, but a combination of the league losing lots of its proven starters over recent years and Stafford playing with more consistency under Sean McVay puts him in the number 10 spot. He's one of a few quarterbacks in the league right now who can mitigate pressure in the pocket consistently while executing full field reads or manipulating defenders in coverage to create openings for his wide receivers. Here's an example from last season. It's 3rd and 8 against the Arizona Cardinals. Stafford is in the shotgun with 3 receivers bunched on the wide side of the field. Before the snap, the inside slot receiver motions to the outside. The defense's reaction suggests they're going to play his own coverage. Nobody is in position to blitz either, so Stafford expects to have some time to operate in the pocket. A key detail here is the depth of the safety on the narrow side of the field. He isn't back in line with the safety on the opposite side of the field. Instead, he's stepped forward as if he's trying to sell that he's going to fill a spot of a blitzing linebacker or cover the running back in the backfield. Stafford's eyes go to that safety instantly when the ball is snapped. We can see that clearly from the end zone angle. Stafford's processing speed here is exceptionally quick. His eyes are on the first safety, but before he hits the top of his drop, he's moved to instead look to his crossing route. This is a purposeful action to turn the safety inside and encourage him to step forward. We know he's not actually going to throw to where he's looking at this point because his feet are still pointing towards the opposite sideline. When he hits the top of his drop just milliseconds later, his eyes are back where they started. Stafford is looking for Tutu Atwell running a vertical route. That safety to his side is not paying attention to him as he's breaking towards the tight end in the middle of the field. That leaves space for Stafford to throw into behind him. Atwell isn't open yet and he won't get much separation. To make the margins finer, Stafford has backside pressure arriving at the top of his drop, so the ball has to come out or he has to step forward into the pocket, ruining the timing of the play. Stafford maintains the timing with his route and is able to make that pressure throw into his receiver downfield for the huge gain and the first down. Stafford played some of the best football of his career in 2023, but to be higher up on this list in 2024, he needs to cut down his mistakes while continuing to fend off the impact of his age. He's 36 now and has endured many severe injuries throughout his career. It won't be a surprise if his physical decline is sudden and severe. Dak Prescott's skill set is greater than his consistency. When he's on, he's absolutely unplayable. When he's off, he's awful. The Dallas Cowboys quarterback is amongst the smartest players in the league, making subtle movements and reads that often go unnoticed by the masses. But like Jason Garrett before him, Mike McCarthy isn't an easy coach to play for. There aren't many easy throws in his offense apart from bubble screens. McCarthy's predictability makes it easier for defenders to jump passes if they are even slightly mistimed or slightly misplaced, so you're constantly walking a fine line next to disaster. Prescott suffered that at times last year. This play against the New York Giants captures how tight the margins were for Prescott last season. It's a hard play fake where the offense only sends 2 receivers downfield. The defense doesn't bite on it. When Prescott hits the top of his drop to look downfield, he sees the deep safety and outside cornerback with depth still, and the linebacker in position to drop underneath the receiver who is about to break in behind him. Prescott knows he has to hold the ball now, but despite having only 2 receivers downfield, he's also already under pressure in the pocket. The defensive tackle coming upfield has outside leverage. That means Prescott can't escape to the left flat where his receivers are. There's no point in him going to the right flat since he'd have no one to throw to over there and eventually be trapped for a sack or forced to throw the ball away. He has to step up. But when he does that, he's at the mercy of another defender who is about to hit him firmly in the chest with all of his weight coming onto the quarterback's midsection. Prescott doesn't flinch and opens his body up fully to take that punishment so he can execute his throwing motion properly. He prioritizes the throw over his own comfort. And it's not like Prescott was throwing to a wide open receiver. He's targeting his corner route, a difficult throw when you have good protection. Because of the pressure, he has to anticipate where his receiver is going to be because he hasn't broken outside yet. The safety over the top can run with him and the outside cornerback could even react still at this stage of the play. The safety was in position to undercut the route, but Prescott's ball carries velocity all the way through until it arrives safely to Brandon Cooks. Prescott has all the talent of his peers across the league. For 3/4 of last season, he was a strong MVP candidate, but he again finished poorly over the final quarter of the season. It happens too often. The question is, does it happen because he is worn down carrying such a difficult passing game over the course of the season, or is it just something in his mental makeup that leads to failures in the bigger games? Whatever the reason, until it changes, we can't put him with the best quarterbacks in the league. Although stylistically different, Josh Allen is essentially a more extreme version of the quarterbacks we've already seen on this list. He's comfortably the most chaotic quarterback in the NFL. He's less refined and less intelligent than Stafford and Prescott, but far more athletic. Because of his athleticism and his style of play, his supporting cast and scheme are often less relevant. That's because he breaks the design of his own plays. That leads to consistently high interception numbers and mistakes, but also to big plays that keep the Bills moving in the right direction. This 2nd and 11 play against the Miami Dolphins is going to break almost instantly. The route combinations from the offense plays into the hands of the Dolphins cover 3 coverage, and the Bills' right tackle is too easily beaten by a spin move from the defensive end, forcing Allen off his spot immediately. He keeps his eyes downfield, but nobody is open or coming open, so Allen sets off into the right flat. But he sees the defensive tackle chasing hard to the outside with outside leverage, so he redirects again back through the pocket. Allen is trying to scramble, but he keeps his eyes up at all times, a rare quality in NFL quarterbacks. The chasing defensive tackle takes away any scramble lane, but Allen's 2 options to throw to are running into the same space. He finds a solution by making a precision pressured throw while on the move to Diggs in the end zone. Allen is a quarterback who makes plays that other quarterbacks can't make, but he's also a quarterback who makes plays other quarterbacks know not to make. This is the worst supporting cast he's ever had in his career coming up this season, so it's a massive year for the Bills starting quarterback to prove his worth and to prove his consistency. 12 months ago, Jordan Love was a complete unknown in the NFL. He'd barely played, and while he had his rookie moments growing into the offense last season, his overall performances and his skill set were way beyond expectations. Love proved to be an exceptionally poised pocket passer with the ability to take advantage of his arm talent by pushing the ball downfield. The Packers' shot play offense suits him perfectly, and you'd anticipate them expanding it further moving into this season with all of their wide receivers healthy again. This play against the New Orleans Saints highlights the level of quarterback we're talking about. Jordan Love is late with this ball. It should have already left his hand, but that's not his fault. Not one, but 2 of his receivers downfield are falling over at the critical stage of the play. The crossing route over the middle just slipped on his own, but the fade route from the left slot has been shoved to the ground, drawing an illegal contact penalty. That's a nice penalty. It gives you a first down, but Love isn't going to settle for it. Let's rewind to the start of the play. Before the snap, the Saints defense is showing a passive coverage call. It's either a variation of cover 2 or cover 4, or it's off-man coverage with 2 deep safeties. On 1st and 10, there's no reason for Love to expect a blitz here, so when the Saints send a cornerback from the slot on the narrow side of the field, he has to quickly adjust. But not only that, the defense is actually playing a mixture of coverages, with man coverage to the bottom of the screen and zone to the top. A lot has happened on this play, and we're less than 1 second into it. Love instantly saw the blitz and looked in that direction. His receiver looks back for the ball too, for the hot route, but Love holds the ball because he sees the safety shooting forward. It's the perfect opportunity to throw in behind him to the fade route. We're now back where we started. From the wider look, you can see that Love's arm is cocked as he's starting his throwing motion, but he stops himself when he sees the defender interfere with his receiver. The end zone angle lets us see that more clearly. By holding the ball for a split second longer, Love has to reset to his left and winds up throwing the ball off his back foot. That, combined with the high release point, makes this an off-platform throw. And yet, while making that adjustment, Love drops the ball over Romeo Dobbs' outside shoulder for the huge gain. The processing speed and poise that Love showed throughout this play was phenomenal. Those are 2 traits he showed off consistently throughout his first season as the Green Bay Packers starting quarterback. Love's foundation in technique, intelligence and poise should allow him to continually develop over the coming years. He's not coming off a rookie season, but he's not far off of it, and the Packers can only be massively optimistic about the levels he might reach in the future. In terms of pure talent, Joe Burrow is as good as anyone else in the NFL, but he's constantly injured, and it's taking its toll on his body as well as his consistency. Burrow's tendency to throw mind-numbing interceptions or make mistakes that should have been easily avoided isn't as bad as Josh Allen's or Matthew Stafford's, but it's not that far off. At the moment, he's a bit of a streaky quarterback. He might go a couple of weeks without a single bad play against strong defenses, then he might capitulate completely without being forced to by the opposition. Hopefully he's fully healthy this year and we can see plays like this one against the Ravens more often. Like Wile E. Coyote suspended in midair over the side of a canyon, Joe Burrow looks like he has already fallen into a trap here against the Baltimore Ravens. Burrow is staring down his slot receiver who is running a deep out. The outside cornerback is reading the quarterback's eyes, so he's already breaking on the ball. This isn't the look from the defense that Burrow was expecting. Before the snap, they showed an all-out blitz. The most likely coverage from here is cover 0. One of the 7 blitzers will pick up the running back from the backfield, and everyone else is playing man coverage on an island. Oh, and it's 3rd and 8 by the way, so there's not an easy solution here for the offense to stay on the field. If the defense played cover 0, the best outlet is his out route from the slot. Against that man coverage, the defender outside follows the outside receiver upfield, so there is space to throw into. There is no defender running underneath the route either, so the safety is the only defender Burrow would have to worry about throwing to his out route. And none of these defenders will be reading his eyes. Instead, he has 3 defenders reading his eyes, each of them hoping he'll throw to the slot receiver. Burrow sets up to do that, so the defenders follow their eyes, but the quarterback instead rifles the ball ball over the slot receiver and hits his sideline route in a tight window. His receiver, tight end Irv Smith Jr., can't get 2 feet in bounds though, so the play ultimately counts for nothing. Despite resulting in 0 yards gained and a punt, this play highlights how intelligent Burrow is and how quickly he processes defenses. If Burrow is fully healthy this year and shows improved consistency, he'll join that top tier of quarterbacks in the NFL. You wouldn't think it based on the discourse surrounding him over the past 2 seasons, but Brock Purdy is only now finishing up the development stage of his career as a quarterback in the NFL. What he's achieved so far individually and with his team is incredible. Now that he's escaping the infancy of his career and entering his 3rd season, he should kick on again so that those Jimmy Garoppolo comparisons are exposed for how ignorant they actually are. Purdy is a victim of his own draft spot. If he had been a top 10 pick or even just a first rounder, the hype would be out of control. That's how good Purdy has been. Only the quarterbacks listed ahead of him are as good inside and outside of structure as he is. And as this play from the Packers playoff game will show off, his aggressive mindset attacking windows in coverage makes him the perfect quarterback for Kyle Shanahan's offense. Christian McCaffrey goes in motion before the snap from the slot into the backfield. None of the Packers defenders follow him, so Purdy is anticipating zone coverage. When the ball is snapped, he immediately looks for the linebacker in the middle of the field. Purdy has routes running in behind him to both sides, so he needs to move that linebacker in one direction before he can throw in the other. His eyes snap from initially looking at the linebacker to purposely staring down his tight end. The linebacker reacts to this, biting hard on his eyes, sprinting across the field hoping for an interception. Purdy keeps his eyes there until he begins his throwing motion, moving them at the last possible second to look for Juwan Jennings. That gives the linebacker no opportunity to recover. Purdy rifles the ball perfectly between 3 defenders for the first down. The linebacker he moved is there to hit the receiver instantly after he catches the ball, so he would have been there at the catch point if Purdy hadn't moved him out of the way. What the end zone angle didn't show is that Purdy made the throw without being able to step into it. That requires incredible control and arm strength. Had he lost command of the ball even slightly, he was going to throw what would retroactively look like an ugly interception. Making these types of throws often comes back to bite Purdy because he's throwing into small windows over the middle of the field where there's a crowd. That leads to more interception opportunities and more mistakes. That's the area of his game that he'll need to refine this season, and once he does that, he might be the most well-rounded quarterback in the NFL, even if not the best quarterback in the NFL. CJ Stroud was a good quarterback prospect coming out of Ohio State, but nothing like what he instantly became in the NFL. He had plenty of rookie mistakes in games where he looked a little bit lost, but there's no point getting hung up on them since they should go away with experience. The different ways in which he cut apart NFL coverages and evaded NFL pass rushers suggests he's going to be an elite quarterback at this level sooner rather than later. It was a rookie season reminiscent of Andrew Luck's, but likely even better. What made Stroud, and Luck, stand out was the ability to generate big plays when things didn't work the way they were supposed to. This play against the Denver Broncos is a great example of that. Stroud converted a lot of third downs from behind the down and distance for a rookie, and his ability to reset within the pocket was the foundation of his success. The Broncos are playing zone coverage and rushing 4 players after the quarterback. None of Stroud's routes are going to come open early in the play, and the Broncos pass rush is closing the pocket around him rapidly. He has no quick outlet at the top of his drop. From the end zone angle, we can see how quickly the pocket closes around Stroud. The first green circle shows what it looks like during his drop back, and the second much smaller circle is what it looks like at the top of his drop back. Stroud manipulates the right side defensive end by making as if he's going to step up and scramble out of the pocket, but then resetting to his left. This movement bought him time and created some space for him to throw the ball downfield cleanly. That movement also changed the picture of the routes downfield. His receiver running the seam route on the right side had continued downfield while the safety to that side bought on the crossing route inside of him. That left him wide open. Stroud had recognised the potential for this before he moved off the top of his drop, allowing him to maintain the timing of the play when he reset. That's an extremely high level play for a quarterback to make, especially when you're a rookie backed up against your own end zone on 3rd and 6. Stroud was in a very well designed scheme under Bobby Slowick, so there are still areas of his game that will need greater exposure. But how he created big plays outside of structure, the overall decisions he made as a rookie within structure, and his sheer precision as a passer should allow him to continue to prosper moving forward into the rest of his career. No quarterback in the NFL has suffered more because of his situation over the last few years than Justin Herbert. He's an elite quarterback with an elite skill set that he plays to more consistently than anyone else. But the Los Angeles Chargers have been a complete basket case to the point that people don't even think he's a good quarterback, never mind one of the best in the league. There's not a throw he can't make, he has a very low error rate, he handles pressure as well as anyone, and he doesn't need any schematic help to diagnose defenses. Herbert can do it all. Herbert's skill set means he can combat anything the defense tries to do to him. He thrives in every situation, against any coverage, and against any kind of pass rush. The Minnesota Vikings show a blitz on 3rd and 7 here, but drop out of it into a 4-man rush. The defense executes this shift at the snap brilliantly. It means that Herbert's options are very limited when he hits the top of his drop. The receiver to the top of the screen will come open, but he can't throw the ball at this stage without the deep safety breaking off his assignment and tracking across the field for the interception. Keenan Allen, his slot receiver, similarly is too early in his route, while the other two options will be covered throughout the play. Herbert is looking left, but he senses the backside pressure arriving just before the defender gets to him. You can see him drop his eyes as he adjusts his body to escape up through the pocket. He can't settle because of that first defender, so he's forced to run into a spot where he's at the mercy of two more pass rushers. All of his weight is forward now, he's falling and he's going to be hit, but it still somehow doesn't prevent him from generating enough velocity and accuracy on the ball to push it across the face of the defender and give Allen the chance to make the play. If you can't separate Herbert from the Los Angeles Chargers dysfunction he exists in, then it's easy to understand why you might not understand the hype. But if Herbert was put on a competent football team, he'd be the biggest threat to Patrick Mahomes' legacy. Jim Harbaugh is hoping to build that competent football team, but the question then becomes if Harbaugh is the right coach for an elite quarterback talent, since his past success in the NFL was with a focus on running the ball and playing strong defense. I'm sure Herbert won't complain if he gets that after his career so far though. It's crazy to realise, because he won his second MVP last year, but last year was the first year of Lamar Jackson's career when he had competent pass catchers and a scheme that didn't tie his hands behind his back on passing plays. Jackson thrived in that situation and should be in an even better situation this season. He's not just a premier quarterback in this league and a generational runner, but he's also one of the best pocket passers in the league too. The continued campaign suggesting otherwise has gone beyond old man yelling at cloud levels. Few plays from any quarterback this season capture the confidence and comfort of a quarterback as much as this one against the Arizona Cardinals. The Ravens are in the red zone. The Cardinals anticipate the route combination, so they get a defender with outside leverage working against every route. So when Jackson hits the top of his drop, he's looking for a double covered Mark Andrews in the back of the end zone. Passing in this area of the field is more difficult than anywhere else because of the lack of space to throw into. The defense has to cover less of the field. But Jackson's space in the pocket is rapidly running out too. At this stage, he looks like he's destined to be sacked. Ronnie Stanley is pushed back so that his foot stands on Jackson's lead leg. Jackson does incredibly well to pull it away to avoid major injury, and while doing so, still manages to stay on the same page as Andrews in the end zone on his adjustment to the coverage. Jackson got every last millisecond he could out of that pocket, and even then he needed to be at his acrobatic best to make the play work. Jackson has the ability to speed up his process when he needs to, but he also shows the patience to take advantage of clean pockets when he gets them. Don't be fooled. He is a complete quarterback, an elite quarterback, and one day the discourse surrounding him might even be framed that way. Anyone arguing against Patrick Mahomes at this stage is not arguing in good faith. No other quarterback in the league wins a Super Bowl with last year's version of the Kansas City Chiefs. At this point, you have to assume he'll go down as the greatest quarterback ever when he retires, unless something major happens. The San Francisco 49ers are going to defend this play about as well as you could expect them to. It's 3rd and 9. The 49ers put two safeties deep and play press man coverage underneath. Mahomes is instantly in trouble in the pocket because Nick Bosa is too fast around the edge for his right tackle. Bosa stumbles slightly, which buys the quarterback some time, but he can't hit the top of his drop still. As we can see at this stage, none of Mahomes' receivers are even looking back for the ball for him to throw it to them, never mind throw it to them for the first down. Mahomes' eyes stay downfield as he rapidly relocates upfield to cut off Bosa's angle. If he stays in the pocket, Bosa gets up and sacks him, so Mahomes instantly escapes into the right flat. There is space in front of the quarterback to scramble, but it's 3rd and 9, so again his eyes stay up after he escapes the pocket. He has 3 receivers breaking to his side of the field, none of them are open, nor will they come open. So instead, he goes all the way back to his 4th receiver in the middle of the field, throwing back across his body, pushing the ball past the waiting defender for the first down. Mahomes has normalised throwing the ball back across your body to the middle of the field. Plenty of quarterbacks did it before he entered the league, but it was always discouraged, and those who did it didn't do it as often as he does. It was a standout moment when the likes of Ben Roethlisberger or Aaron Rodgers did it, but now it's just what we expect from Mahomes. Like many teams across the league, the 49ers played this play perfectly and actually played a really good game against Mahomes for the most part in the Super Bowl, yet they still lost. He's the ultimate problem solver at quarterback, the greatest equalizer in the league, and the best quarterback in the league.